I'm going to call to order. This is the Joint Design Review Board meeting and Zoning Commission special meeting, Monday, July 21st, 2014. Here tonight we have Ron Perry, Anka Dragulski, Paul Lanza, Tony Drapelick, and John Leshever. All right. John Leshever will be alternate for John Carroll. Okay. All right, discussion possible action. So first up, we have application number 14-36 of Thomas J. Donahue Jr. applicant, 16 Albany Turnpike LLC, owner for a site plan amendment for a proposed bank on the property located at 16 Albany Turnpike, map 820, block 503, lot 001, zone B3. TJ?
Madam Chairman, members of the commission, I represent I represent 16 Albany Turnpike LLC, which is an LLC owned by the Hoffman family, and this application is to make active use of a site that's been somewhat dormant for 20 years under environmental remediation. It's the former BP Arco station on the corner adjacent to McDonald's at the corner of Route 44 in Bushy Hill Road. The Hoffmans have made, as you know, and have assisted very significant investments in that corner. And when the site was put up for auction, they acquired it several years ago. They've given great thought to it. They've marketed it. They've worked with McDonald's in a dramatic fashion to create an opportunity for the town where there will be no curb cuts on either Bushy Hill Road or Route 44. This application, if you see fit to grant it, will close those curb cuts, and the access will be internal access ways with the McDonald parcels. It was a tough negotiation with McDonald's. The location of the building had to be moved to protect sight lines, and that's why tonight this application before you has already been through the Zoning Board of Appeals, which has fixed the site of the building because it's closer than the allowed setbacks on the west side and on the south side. But they were very pleased to do that because it allows us to not have curb cuts on 44 and Bushy Hill, and it made good sense to them, and I hope it makes good sense to you. You're going to see some drawings of a Berkshire Bank, which is the tenant under a lease on the site. John Imison from EDM Architects is here. We're going to move right through quickly. We'll be available for any questions that you have and any discussion that you wish. And I'd like to introduce John Imison, our architect.
Good evening, members. John Inison with EDM Architects. I'm a licensed architect with the state of Connecticut and principal with EDM Architects and Engineers. And we've been retained by 16 Albany Turnpike, the Hoffmans, to design the building shell. So I may just briefly pick up where TJ left off and just describing. Can everyone see this from over here, or should I pull this a little closer to the
We have prints too.
I assume everyone's familiar with the site location. Okay, I won't belabor that issue. But 2,500 square foot branch bank with an ATM drive-up lane and a drive-up tower lane as part of that development. As Tom alluded to, there's been quite a bit of pushing, pulling, massaging to maintain the sight lines from the intersection that are dashed on the site plan. So what we have is a part of your packet, the 2,500 square foot branch bank plan. Main entry facing the intersection. The ATM, the drive-up lane, has been oriented towards, in a sense, if you would, the rear of the site is sort of a diagonal site as you would. So that has been oriented towards that direction. Obviously, we want to get the exposure towards the two main intersections. And just to familiarize, we've got the two gas stations on the opposite corner. Staples on the other corner sits a little bit farther back, but essentially it's a group of single-story structures on that corner, very low profile structures at that intersection. So the proposal is to look at something doing a sort of traditional transitional branch bank that'll fit well with the neighbors. We're not looking to do something totally outside the box, but I have, and I apologize because rendered images aren't exactly they can look like the real material. So I do have the actual, some of the proposed materials here between the stone and the siding, and I can review those two as well shortly. In addition, I'm not sure if there are any photographs in your package as well, but I have a couple of in the back of this package. Let me pass these around. There are a couple of photographs in the back of this package. That do the branch, do it a little bit more justice in terms of the. So material-wise, this is what we're looking at in terms of the base material: a stone water table with the cap on the base of the branch itself. The upper portions of the bank are going to be a doubled, traditional doubled siding with a painted trim. All the siding is going to be pre-painted. We're looking at the two colors. The two colors we're looking at here is the slightly darker color for the body of the building, the doubled siding, and then the trim being this Navajo beige. That's a little bit lighter. So as you can see, they're close to the rendered images, but they're not spot on. And then for the accent trim, aluminum framing in a Hartford green color for those for everything except the teller windows. So a good deal, single story, a good deal of glass where we can do it. We pull the stone veneer up around the entryways to kind of identify the entry of the branch. But all long-term, durable, high-quality materials in the branch itself. And then an asphalt shingled roof in a as architectural style shingle, a weathered wood style of shingle for the roof itself.
So are these like the colors of Berkshire Bank? They're like their standard branding colors?
This is
Pretty
what they
much.
would like to use as their standard colors. I mean, they are, I would say, with the exception of the green, they are fairly subdued. Oh, I should mention too, there is signage suggested on there that is not, well, we obviously we're going for a separate sign approval on any of that. That's just a suggestion at this point.
So that is not the sign that you're coming back for?
They would come back for the sign approval.
We're going to have to do substantial signage throughout the site. Kind of, as John said, it's going to blend in with all the other sites, so we'll be back before you with the signs. We are not looking for sign approval tonight.
And you're going to come back with signage for the directional, how to get in and out?
If that needs to be, if the town staff tells me that needs to be approved by you, we'll have that with us, yes, because we're going to do a lot of that.
It looks on the map here, it's a long trek to get out of there, it seems like.
It's a intricate design which is responsive to town staff and the state traffic commission that they don't want us to go out on.
Curb cut, that's great.
The curb cut.
That's what that's about.
Okay.
Before we finish,
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to let the commission know that Jonathan Hoffman is here tonight, Dan Bjorklund, who runs the real estate for Hoffman's.
Thank you.
Pretty good taxpayers.
Yes.
And the gables, what's that painted stucco?
It's exactly that. It's a painted ephes.
What
Material.
about shingles or shakes or
Oh, it's-
something else than stucco?
Other than the,
If, you know, just a minor suggestion in the future when you finalize the finishes.
I don't think that would necessarily be an issue. I think it's really.
Plus, I know the sign will be on top of it anyway, but just, you know.
Frankie, are you talking about just the,
Yeah, I'm just talking about these
gables.
areas, the
Yeah.
gables here.
okay.
The triangular.
So you suggest maybe using the same siding
Yes,
versus
or
the stucco?
shakes or siding but not stuff. I mean, again, my opinion, but that doesn't necessarily have.
Does Berkshire and the other banks use lighting on the signs, or they just
The signs
plan to have lighting on the signs?
not externally. It would not be an externally lit sign.
Background light, what?
Potentially a background or a halo sign, but that, like I said, that would be part of a separate application for the sign themselves.
You guys have any comments?
I don't see any problem with it. I think it's like the Cumberland Farms thing we voted on at the last meeting. It cleans up a bad situation, enhances the tax rolls of the town. I can't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, if it's not something like this, it's what? I mean, 20 years we waited, although, when did they stop pumping under there? Just 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. You mean the remediation?
Yeah.
Curious about the choice of green for the windows and doors. Is that in your other buildings?
That is in the other buildings. I would say other than probably other than the 2 entry doors, it is fairly subdued in terms of an accent color.
Well, I would agree that from a design standpoint, it's a really tough challenge to fit on that lot and to make it look the way you did and have no curb cuts, maintain the sight lines, get a building like that in that spot. It seems consistent with what we would want to have.
Just 2 quick questions, I know we're short on time tonight. Could you talk a little bit about whether you have any proposed landscaping for the site? And secondly, was it possible or was it not possible to put the drive-through in the rear of the building? If you could just talk about those 2 things.
Sure. I may not be qualified to talk about the landscaping. Let me see it.
On the landscaping, the site is going to be significantly landscaped. There is a commitment in the easements that the plantings, which will be in front of the sight line to McDonald's, will be lower plantings. We have an LSA, Mark Aragoni from Milo and McBroom, who is stuck in Springfield. He'll probably miss this part of the meeting, but there will be landscaping. We'll add that to the signage if you'd like when it comes in. But I can't treat that honestly or fully now.
And then the drive-through?
The drive-through, the drive-through, well, I guess if you kind of define where the back of the building is, we've got it as close to the back as we could, but with the variance for the setbacks, there was really only one spot. There was really only one spot that it would go because you're just being constricted by the existing parking here in this area.
Yeah, let me respond to that. McDonald's exacted from us a commitment that when you're sitting in this lane in your car, you can see the full side of McDonald's. And that's what forced the building back, and that was the trade-off. And we didn't go into it a lot of depth, but the zoning board of appeals thought it was a pretty good trade-off for the town, and that's why we're stuck with the configuration we have, which we're pretty pleased with, but it was intricate.
Okay. I don't see any issue with it either. I think it's good. I tend to agree with Anka a little bit, though, if we could delete maybe some of the ephes and put some more shingles just to give it a little more texture, not so like commercial feel. And I think when you put the sign on there, it's going to look better with the Berkshire Bank and the green and the X. And I like the trees. I think that would look nice. So I don't really have any other comments other than that. So if we're good. Someone want to make a motion for approval? Pending you guys just reconsider some of the stucco.
We can do that.
I'm so moved
Great.
that we approve.
Second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Any opposed? No? All right, all approved. Thank you.
Thanks for your consideration.
What's the time frame on this?
Jeffrey Hoffman would like to have been in the ground in April. I think we'll get in the ground by November.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's good use of that primer. That's just kind of something that
That would match it, yeah. All right, so, well, they're here, most of them are here. So next up, we just have an informal presentation of the proposed development on the property located at 690 Hot Meadow Street, map G11, block 132, lot 053, zones SC-1 and SC-3. So we have members of our zoning today. This is, I'm assuming this is a follow-up from our previous informal presentation.
Yes, and thank you, Madam Chairman, and members of the Commission. We have spent some time over the last 6 months. Yes, my name is John McCarthy. I'm the managing member of Chestnut Hill Associates of Simsbury. We're the owners of 690 Hot Meadow. We are trying to bring forward today a revision to our plan that we presented informally 6 months ago. And we're confident that this is more sensitive to the historic nature of the mansion. I think we pointed out back in January that our goal was to restore the mansion building, the ceremonial building, iconic anchor of the town center, and also look at ways in which we can do that in a way that's economically feasible for us. So Bill Krosky, who is our architect, and John Sokol, who is our project manager, will be here to speak and answer questions regarding it, but I think we want to maybe get some feedback, too, with what we're trying to accomplish. One of the objectives is to take the mansion and have that turn into vintage residential rental units. Bill will present that today. And rather than me take a lot of time and talk about it, I think I'll just turn it over to Bill Krosky, who we are very confident, since he has such a good background in historic architectural and refurbishment, that he's got a great plan for how we can do that, be sensitive to the mansion, the historic portion of the property, and then also possibly how we can better develop the back site. So, Bill, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bill Krosky from Krosky Architects, located in Hartford. I'm really pleased to be here tonight before you. I want to just reiterate that this is an informal. You know, we're the ink is still wet on those drawings.
Yeah, slippery too.
So there are some things that we haven't figured out yet, and we wanted to make sure that we came before you early enough so we could hear your comments and get some feedback from you and see if we can incorporate that into our design. So I'll just start off here first with the existing site plan, which is probably hard to read from where you are, but we have the original mansion, brownstone mansion, along with a later addition, a parish house, two-story building to the south. And then there's also a freestanding drive-through remote teller from the former bank use that is on the east side of the property. So it's a little over 3 acres total. And this drawing is our proposed site plan. We're planning on demolishing the parish house and restoring the mansion, the brownstone mansion, to its original exterior. as well as rebuilding a sunroom on the south side where the connection to the parish house is right now. But it replaces a sunroom that used to be on the building. We're also going to build a one-story, 7-car garage here that would provide parking for residents of the mansion. And then we're proposing 2 new buildings on the east side of the site and the rear or south side of the site, which will have our new apartment units. And this site has a slope from the mansion down to the east side and also to the south side, which is approximately 10 feet overall. So we're using our buildings to kind of be almost like retaining walls so that we have this space between the mansion and the new buildings, more of a level plane. And we have a new access drive which runs around the east side of the site and the rear, kind of following at the rear here, following the location of the edge of the pavement as it exists today. And then from behind we'll be able to access garages on this building on the east side and some of the units on the south side. The grade goes up here, so we won't be able to get access to the lower level of those kind of units. The mansion's at elevation 193. The ground around it is roughly 190. And then the first floor of our new buildings will be 188, so about 5 feet lower than the existing house. So first, parking-wise, we have 44 surface spaces, and we have 28 garage spaces for a total of 72 spaces. We're going to renovate the existing mansion into 7 units, and then our new units in new buildings are a total of 33 units, so we'll have a total of 40 units on site. Just some shots of the mansion as it exists today. Again, we'll be restoring that. We're actually going to be using state and federal historic tax credits as part of the financing mechanism to make this work. So we'll be held to very strict standards about the restoration of the mansion, and they will also be reviewing the new buildings. SHPO will also be reviewing the new buildings for appropriateness to the mansion. Some technical drawings of the building exterior. Again, we're working on certain aspects of the design still. We haven't designed the sunroom yet, the location and general size of it. In your packet, you'll see that we have documented the existing building, and we've also laid out all the units. And you'll notice there's a chart which shows the units. Again, 7 units. 2 of those units are 1-bedroom units, and those will occur on the 3rd floor under the slope of the roof and between the dormers. We have a 2-bedroom unit on the lower level on the back wing of the building. And then 2 units on the first floor, rather nice size. One is 1,170 square feet, the other one 1,470 square feet, so they're pretty good size. And then second floor, the net square footage on the first floor, 1,925 square feet and 2,200 square or 2,200 square feet gross. The other one is 1,170 or 1,470 gross. Second floor, we've got 2 more 2-bedrooms, approximately the same size as the first floor, and then our 2 ones on the 3rd floor for a total of 7. So they're pretty luxurious units. I think pretty comfortable. They take advantage of the features that the historic mansion has to offer, and we'll be saving all of the paneling, fireplaces, woodwork on the interior. You can see by the layouts that wherever we have rooms that were important to the original mansion, they will remain largely as is, as primary rooms for the apartments. Our new buildings, floor plans. Again, you have to picture that being kind of a retaining wall building with the lower side being the garage access. So on this third of the page, we see access to the parking spaces under the building. Each unit will have a storage space on that level, and then there'll be a stair that goes up to a common stair that goes up to the main level at the level of the mansion parking lot. That floor will have a 2-bedroom unit accessed off the stair. It's a 1,246 square feet, large living space, beautiful kitchen, dining room, 2 bathrooms, a fairly comfortable unit. And then up the common stair, and you'd enter into one of 2 townhouse units at the second floor level. One will look toward the mansion, one will look toward the mountain on the east building. On the south building, one will look south, and one again toward the mansion. And on the first floor, you'll come in to the dining room. There'll be a full kitchen, living space, living room there, bathroom, and then up the staircase to 2 bedrooms and bathroom. We will be modifying that unit to get a second full bath in there. That unit is 1,274 square feet, so again, a good size, very comfortable unit. We'll have some features like window seats, sunroom off the living room, so they'll be very nice units. One of the two driving ideas from a practical standpoint with these units, one is that we want to be able to get from the parking spaces to all the units only climbing 2 sets of stairs. We don't want to be walking up to the 3rd floor to access the unit. So that's one of the driving forces behind the townhouses being over the flats. Also, we're using a certain aspect of the building code that allows us to have 1 staircase as an egress element for our apartments if we're within certain distances, if we have a sprinkler system, and we have that stair serving a maximum number of units, we're able to provide just 1 stair. So it gets rid of a lot of common space that often is a problem in projects. So in terms of the exterior, one of the things we're looking at is, the design of the exterior is very important because we want it to be complementary to the mansion, not compete with the mansion, but be more of a backdrop to the mansion, but at the same time have its own character and have an attractive appearance. So in your packet, you'll see there's the front elevation. This would face the mansion. It's a 3-story elevation with the staircase entrances located in 3 places. We're looking at using a hip roof like the mansion with some dormers, using some brown stone, although it won't be brown stone, it will be brown concrete stone, compressed stone like Aeroscrap. And then residential siding on the upper 2 levels. Again, with sunrooms, some window seats, and so forth to break up and modulate the exterior. This lower elevation shows the end side that would face Drake Hill and also Hot Meadow, and it shows how we're transitioning between the lower level to the upper level where the mansion is. Now we did we did a drawing that, again, the ink is still wet on. We have a winter scene here. It's not colored yet, but we also have the summer view. And the upper view is the view as if you were standing in the parking lot looking across Drake Hill, and the lower one is standing at the church looking across Hop Meadow. And the reason we went through this exercise is I wanted to show that the scale of the new buildings, the roof is actually lower than the mansion. There's a fair amount of distance between the mansion and the new building, so they act more as a backdrop to the mansion. Also, you know, the street Hop Meadow angles here, so you'll catch a glimpse of the end of the new building, but we've got some fairly good-sized trees at the end on the Hop Meadow west corner, and you can see in our winter scene here, that's a representation of what the trees are right now, and an pretty close approximation of the scale, although we left out 2 large pine trees that are much taller that are located there right now. So I think the new buildings, they're about as far away from the mansion as they can get. They do create a complementary background, but they don't compete with the mansion, and I think will be a nice addition to the site and really set the mansion off as a gem as people are driving by looking at that. So that's kind of where we are right now. Obviously, we've still got some details to work out in terms of and material selections to finalize, but we wanted to get your input, feedback, thoughts.
So what's your plan, what's the plan for submittal? Are you looking to submit soon, or?
As soon as possible, but we do have to engage our civil engineer, landscape architect, bring him on to work out the details, plan, and the grading, and so forth. So we're really just about at that point. We know where we're headed with the building design, and I wanted to get that far along before we had our landscape architect and engineer.
See, the apartments on the west side, there's no garage underneath them, so they're going to park in the open lot?
They're going to park in the open lot and in the garage, the little one-story building that we're putting right here.
Well, I thought that was for the mansion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, this being the west side.
Yeah, but in the new buildings, right?
Probably right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then emergency road is required by the fire department, or?
Well, we have, we're planning on putting in a turf block drive here, so there's, circular access around the site. If we need to adjust this to, it's reasonably close to alignment with the entrance to the shopping center parking, but if we need to tweak that a little bit, that's certainly going to happen.
And the front, if I understand earlier, you're not going to change anything in the front?
On the existing building?
Yeah, and also the landscape in the front?
Correct, except for this turf block. We will probably change the bushes that are in front of the building because they're quite overgrown. Okay. So we'll come back to you with a more detailed landscaping plan as it develops.
And when you were here 6 months ago, weren't the other buildings back against the property line?
There was an earlier arrangement that had multiple freestanding buildings, and they varied in location from this area to this area. I'm not as familiar with that.
Were there garages along Drake Hill in the previous, not this presentation, the previous one?
Yeah. I was thinking about the density. This, maybe I missed it. What is the?
There's 7 units in the mansion and 33 units.
Yes, let me add a little bit. We probably should have told it early on. When we met, I'm John Sokol, Harbor Constructors. I'm project manager. When we met back in January, there was a condominium development, and we weren't sure what we were going to do with the mansion. The numbers didn't pencil out. You probably know we have an easement here that we can't build on. So this is the only opportunity for development. I think we ended up with 11 or 12 condos on the site, and we would have had to sell those for north of $600,000 just to break even. So it didn't make sense. So that's why we're presenting our new plan.
Well, if I may, the previous plan I felt was brilliant. It was scaled perfectly for the property. You had a lot of amenities, and I mean, we're having a frank discussion. So I mean, my reaction to this is that you've sort of given away the best things of that. In terms of layout, there was now it's all parking around the mansion, where before you had some gardens and some congregating areas. But the thing that I think I react to immediately is what I consider to be the massive scale of these two buildings in relation to the scale of the mansion. It seems like it really overwhelms it. And to put two of them there, it just completely changes the character, not only of what you're proposing compared to what was proposed before, but also of that corner in a way that I would find, at least my opinion, not the ideal approach. I mean, if you look at the elevation of the buildings.
Yeah, I think if you were to come down West Street, that's really the money shot right there. There's so many trees and foliage, you're not going to see that. And coming down this way, same thing. I mean, I think what Bill's elevations are, if you're standing level with the building, the reality is you're going to be down at the street.
I understand, it's always a problem when you're looking at elevations. Usually no one's
Yes.
ever in that location.
Right.
Plus, it's two-dimensional, you don't get the reduction because of perspective.
Nonetheless, I mean, what would say be the length of the backfill, overall length and height?
This is 180 feet, and this is 215.
Pretty massive.
But with the brakes and, yes.
Well, I mean, there's clearly visual breaks in the facades and the elevations of the structures, but the overall mass of the building is
That's kind of
pretty
what I was
enormous.
with the density is increased.
Right. I mean, it's
Threefold.
right. To not break those buildings up at all, to me, just seems to overpower the house, the mansion.
I have three questions. With this project, is there an order to it? Are you doing it all at one time, or are you going to do one, and then if that goes well, we go to the next one?
We're gonna restore the mansion first, build those 7 units, and we're in the process of applying for financing for that. And then the back half, phase 2, will go at once. It's not gonna be build one, see how it works. It's all gonna be one package.
And is there a phase 3? Is that to be
No,
determined?
no, phase 2. Yeah.
Okay. Second question is price point on these condos? Rentals?
Yeah, we think we're gonna be in the 2 to 2.25 square foot, so it's probably all of them under $3,000.
Okay.
Maybe the 2 large ones in the mansion may be north of that. They're pretty substantial in size.
Okay. And the third question was, one thing I like about what Mill Commons, the builder did at Mill Commons, was incorporate the stonework that this whole town is constructed of, all from that side. I may have missed this, but is there going to be any attempt to try to replicate that with these buildings with the stonework?
That whole first floor is, right now in our current design, first floor is going to be aristocrat stone, which is brown. You can get it in different colors, but it's going to be brown.
Thank you.
I have a comment or not as much as a question, but I understand you have to make the property economic. I would share a little bit the comment that what is the total square footage of each of the 2 buildings that are in the back? I didn't do that math fast enough in my head, but the one, would you say 108 by times?
Well, there's 1,250 square feet roughly per unit, so times This one has 15 units, that has 18 units. I don't know if anybody else is counting.
40,000 square feet. 40,000 square feet each. Yeah, so that, I mean, this is a substantial increase in square footage on a relatively small lot. So I had the same impression, was that at 3 stories on top of a garage, is that correct? Do I have that right?
Yes.
So the buildings in the back, the building in the back is really a 4-story building with 1 story down below based on the slope. You have 40 units and only 28 garages, is that right? So
It's a lot of surface parking.
so there'll be cars constantly parked there. I don't know how you allocate the garages, but that will be your problem with that. From the zoning perspective, we're looking at density relative to the total space. Love what you're doing with the main building. Love those apartments. Think that these 2 buildings in the back are large relative to the building. So that would be my feedback too. If that's what you're asking for is informal feedback. I think that'll be the issue for us when we look at this. For me. Also.
And if I could just add one point,
same
though,
concern.
there's 9, remember that also too, that we've got 9,000 square feet of undesirable square footage is coming down.
Yeah, no, yeah, we get that.
Right. So that allows the mansion to actually restore to its original. Because right now that annex building it's functionally obsolete.
Yeah.
That's pretty, when you look at this drawing, the historic building that I grew up around the corner from there, right, gets buried. It just gets gobbled up in the 2 other buildings. Right now, you drive by there, you see this beautiful historic building, and then you build that, and it's going to get lost. And there's got to be a way to compromise
I'll
on
give you
that.
an example, or just a suggestion. Maybe if there's a way to step down the end units on the ends of each of the building to 2 stories. You might, I understand you lose an apartment or you make it smaller.
Sure.
But if it will scale the buildings around the centerpiece, perhaps. That's a design review comment. I'm out of my league here.
No, that's, I mean, even to the
I'm trying to help.
stepping down in the middle of the building as well.
Yeah.
Something to break up the enormous
Barracks.
roof line. The
Monotony.
roof line is just,
Who's going to own the 100-year-old railroad wall that's keeping this thing from sliding into the river?
I think it's on this site, this wall right here.
Yeah. Is this going to be owned by the development?
It is now. It is now.
It is now.
It is now.
Great presentation. Graphically, it's beautiful. You put a lot of effort in just recreating the existing building and everything. Very nice. Lots of effort.
Thank you.
And speaking of the roof line, just as a suggestion, if the project goes ahead, would you consider to taper the roof, the new roof, around the eave lines to somehow mimic the existing
To get the
house?
curves?
Exactly.
Or
to taper
the
it,
secondary
yes,
break?
Yeah, yeah.
It could be done. It's rather involved
Maybe it's not too
construction
much.
wise, but
Just a suggestion, to yeah. And the other comment and question that I have, what bothers me right now the most are those garages that are right in the middle of the property there behind the mansion. Yes. Are they going to be like a real enclosed garage? Or would you consider, I would like to see it
carport?
disappearing. You see in your rendering,
Yeah.
the way you did it,
Right,
it's
we're gonna have-
fantastic. It's like IMP building that pyramid at the Louvre, all glass, you don't see it. Everybody likes it.
Yeah.
Of course, you cannot build here garages out of glass. But maybe, again, just to consider, would you just build it just like a shed kind of a
Right,
garage,
like a
with
carport.
posts, night posts with the stone bases and then just a nice wood structure, like the way they have it now, where the teller is.
right.
That
Yeah.
kind of nice wood framing cover, and they can park underneath.
Okay.
I'll second that. By the way, that's an IM reference for your garage and the Louvre. I would take that with you.
I couldn't come up with anything, but the structures of the mansion, it's beautiful. For the town of Simsbury, it's outstanding. Yeah, I think
The
it's.
previous design did have somewhat of a carriage house effect for some of the
For the
townhouses.
garages,
I
yeah.
think a lot of us really liked. I understand that that's really separate buildings for one unit, and that you don't get great economies of scale. I get that. Maybe that's some way, maybe there's a way to step down the units and make the garage more of a carriage with one or two apartments above, something like that. Because that one-story garage behind the mansion, relative to the heights of the other buildings, is short, right?
It's gonna look like a utility shed.
Yeah. Here's some, that's feedback.
You know, I think my biggest concern about this is that building on the east side, the one that's in this direction that we're facing, and that massive pavement behind it with the big wall, historic wall there. I think when you're coming up, you know, Drake Hill Road, and you're looking down that, it's gonna look like an alley, and you're gonna see the dumpster, and you're gonna see, you know, garages, and this wall, whatever this retaining wall is, however you're going to maintain the back side of it, you know, and it just seems like that whole strip right there doesn't fit.
That corner's gonna be a
whole-
4-story building.
Yeah, and when you look at the elevation, you know, the north elevation, I think that's going to be, the end of this unit is really not appealing. This elevation, this whole thing right here, I think is unattractive to the site. Doesn't really do it any justice. It's definitely too tall. And the other thing is, like, there's tons of cool architectural elements in the mansion. We've got chimneys and cool little dormers and little flares and little neat things. And, like, these two blocks have, like, all roof with a couple tiny little dormers popped here and there, where you could have taken some, break it up more with some chimneys, some vertical elements, some references back to the mansion. Definitely some breaks in the height. But the left building is the one that really concerns me the most. Well, I think what I liked about the original design too was it had this nice feel to those units along the back. They had views out over to that back grassy area where no one can build on. These are going to be looking over a parking lot or over a back alley road. That's all mine. Anybody else? Yeah. Ron, you look like you want to say something.
I don't know how to phrase it. I agree with Jonathan. I just don't know how to phrase. The scale of it is overwhelming. And I know this is tough to, if the top level was cut off and the buildings were a story shorter, I think it would be a little easier to.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
liked
again,
the scale of the two-story townhomes before. I thought that was a nice feel.
Because I was trying to pull up the previous presentation, and I don't seem to have it, but I don't remember them being as tall as.
We were 2 stories.
Right.
Yeah. And these would be rentals, you said?
Yes.
I think the opinion is that mansion disappears in the structures you're putting around to it. It's just, it's sort of like in a blockade. And you have to do something to make the mansions, the end result has to be the mansion's got to be the reason people look at that and the reason people move there. And it can't be encumbered with those big blocks. And I agree, and that the one side with the 4 stories, as you're coming up Drake Hill Mall, that, you know, do we have any other 4-story buildings in town? That'll be one of the few 4-story buildings in town.
The only way you'll see the marquee buildings if you stop in front of it at the light. You miss it with that structure. I heard someone whisper over here, we need more condos. This topic comes up all the time in our zoning meetings, North Gateway, South Gateway, and we do question that. But I think it's important in the downtown element to have that. That is, our downtown area is dying right now. Unless we bring people down here to live, people are not going to shop here, they're not going to come here, they're going to go everywhere else. So it's important that we figure this out somehow to bring housing to downtown Simsbury. I think it's imperative.
I second that.
Yeah.
This is an important project for the town, and you guys are working hard at it. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm all for housing. I think it's a great place to have a little townhouse. Get on the bike path, you walk to the restaurants, you can walk to play golf, you can do all kinds of things.
But I understand the financial part of it. I mean, you also have enough volume there to make it work.
Financial, that's the downside. That's the problem. They have to basically, overbuild it just to make up the money.
I'll throw a monkey wrench in. I like the use of the site and the mass. I don't know how you back down the numbers to reduce the mass a little bit, less units, whatever it is. With the previous presentation, with the garages being the face of the project along Drake Hill, wasn't particularly attractive to me.
I'd say that the original project also preserved more of the front as a park space. I don't think the original buildings ever went beyond the front facade of the building. Now, if you look at it from the north, it goes beyond the mansion house, and then you now have a driveway there too. So you've changed that whole front of it. I like the first idea is that everything was behind the house and left the front as a very nice park area.
Yeah, I think there's a preservation setback there that.
Yeah, but it goes with the road instead of with the house. I'm saying it should go with the house so that you don't have that piece in the south end there standing out further to Rock Meadow House.
I think it's unfortunate that you made the first presentation. You shouldn't have been by it. And I'm sorry, but as a zoning member, the 10 units per acre scares the hell out of me. I don't like that at all. And if you can get that to 5 with something nice, go to it. But
5 units per acre?
Whatever. Yeah.
It won't work.
It doesn't work for you.
It's an acre. There's only an acre of developable property there. Not going to work at 5. We didn't get any buyers at the last meeting. That's why we had to go with Plan B here. Nobody tapped me on the shoulder at the end of the meeting. Well, we appreciate your candid comments.
We do.
Well, thank you for coming. We hope to work with them.
We will.
We'll see you again.
So when you meet next in September?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll put us on the docket.
We got the mansion part figured out.
We're going to add more. We're going to add more trees those elevators.
Or the IMK garage. Don't do that either.
No, I'm glad you don't build on Drake Hill. That's really good.
I liked little carriage house garages before.
No, it's not. It's not because always.
All right, I guess we're all set here. Make a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion. Meeting adjourned.